I cannot impress upon people more. We must continue our stay-at-home policy throughout the state of California. We must continue to lead in this respect. Let us not pull back. I said this 2 days ago. I'll repeat it today. Let's not run the 90-yard dash. If we hold the line, if we continue to do good work, let's avoid big lines this weekend at our beaches or on trails. Let us practice this physical distancing. Let's get through the next few weeks. Let's see where this curve is. Let's see if we are managing that curve. And then we'll have some more clarity how we can get back to normalcy. But I promise people this. We will not get back to normalcy as soon as we would like if we don't continue to practice physical distancing and continue to advance at scale throughout the state of California, in every part of the state, the kind of stay-at-home policy that California very proudly advanced as the nation's first state.
Bob Moffitt with Capital Public Radio asks regarding the commutation of sentences. What do you have to say to the families of the victims who were murdered in the cases that you commuted? Did you have a length of time served in mind when you made the decision? Well,
I made a number of commutations. I've done this on a number of occasions previously, and I'd say the same thing. My heart goes out to the victims. These are challenging issues, and it deeply impacts the decision making, the impact a commutation has on those victims and their families. So in every instance, in every case, those things are reviewed. We go through a very detailed process, and we did so with the commutations I put out yesterday.
The Associated Press asks, you said California is starting to see a surge in COVID-19 cases. Do you think hospitals in the state are prepared to handle it, or could we see some of the same kinds of problems that we see in New York?
We could if we stop practicing physical distancing. We could if we pull back from our stay-at-home policy. We could if we go back to our normal routines without bending the curve. I mentioned the surge last night, the number of ICU beds. Let me be specific. It was a 105% increase overnight in the number of people in ICUs. It went from 200 yesterday to 410 today. We are blessed, and this is perverse thing to say, forgive me, we're blessed that we're just at 410. Devastating for the individuals there and their family members and loved ones. But by comparison and contrast to other parts of this country, that number seems relatively modest. But the percentage increase was not. And as I said, when I wake up, first two things I look at, ICU and hospitalization rates. The hospitalization rates also went up last night from 746 yesterday to 1,034 today. That represents a 38.6% increase. That is a significant, sizable increase. And if trends continue along those lines, then we will start to manifest conditions that are very familiar to people on the East Coast. That said, the way we have slacked the system and surged the system, and what I mean by surge is, I'll remind you, the USNS Mercy is now in the state of California. These vehicle medical stations, including one here in Santa Clara at the convention facility because of the mayor's leadership, is up and running. 2,000 beds in those 8 vehicle medical stations have been procured because of the support of the President of the United States, which we're grateful for, including the Mercy itself. We have now new hospitals online. Seton is operational in the Bay Area. That has the capacity up to 220 beds. St. Vincent down in LA has the capacity, when we staff it, very shortly we'll staff it, we've secured it, of 366 beds. Community Hospital down in Long Beach has a capacity of 158 beds. We're working with CPMC here in the Bay Area for 157 beds. You start stacking those numbers up. That's part of our surge plan, in addition to hotels, in addition to skilled nursing facilities, in addition to Porterville and Fairview and others. We have thousands and thousands of beds that we've already locked up that are being prepared to meet this moment if these numbers continue to increase.
And from Cal Matters, earlier this week, 7 Bay Area jurisdictions announced new requirements that labs testing for the novel coronavirus must send negative and inconclusive results in addition to positive results to state and local health officials. Why wasn't the state the one to set that requirement from the get-go? Has the state updated its reporting requirements since then to match those of the 7 Bay Area jurisdictions?
We've been asking all the hospitals to do this in some time, the labs to do this, universities to do this for some time. So that was well established. The state has been leading in this space for now weeks and weeks, trying to get all of that data. What's happened, it's a wonderful thing, is every time I go to another city, meet with another mayor, they're talking about a new pilot project, a new testing modality, and some people have more of a focus on getting those up and running than they do on the reporting side. So we've been able to stack the reporting in a way we're now getting all, or at least the vast majority of what's happening on the ground reported in real time, not just the positives, which is the old CDC protocols, but now the negatives, and we certainly didn't wait for that formal announcement. We've been requesting that for weeks now across the state.
The recorder asks, can you explain why you signed the executive order Friday night, effectively giving the Chief Justice significant powers to change court rules around the state? Do you have any concerns about Judicial Council proposals to delay the deadlines for arraigning defendants and preliminary hearings?
I have deep respect for the third branch of government, and I have even more I have equal respect for the Chief Justice. I revere the third branch, and I deeply respect her leadership, and I have incredible confidence not only in her leadership but the Judicial Council's leadership to meet this moment with the kind of alacrity that's required of it, where they're not waiting for a formal executive order for every specific protocol to come from my desk and my signature. This will allow them the ability in real time to meet the needs of the criminal and civil justice systems. And so I did this out of respect to the institution, out of respect to the Chief Justice and her counsel and the Judicial Council's capacity to deliver it, to create those points of access to our system at this very difficult time.
KQED asks, what is your response to criticism from State Senator Scott Wiener and renter advocates that your eviction order does not go far enough, that it merely delays evictions and does not prevent them?
Well, I'm very proud that I signed an executive order yesterday, and it's important for people to know there'll be no legal proceedings. There'll be no capacity to enforce any evictions. That protocol goes through May 31st, and I'm very proud to have done that statewide. We also moved over a week ago to clarify the legal authority of local governments to go even further. 30 jurisdictions already have, including San Jose. Their mayor led in this respect. The mayor of L.A., mayor of San Francisco led, and I continue to encourage local government to go even further. And to the extent that we see conditions changing in real time, we have the capacity in real time to go even further.
KQED also asks, are you looking into doing anything to relax the FDA certifications or increase the emergency use authorizations so PPE or other medical devices with CE, EU certifications or Japanese or South Korean certifications would be allowed to be imported? Yeah,
we're always looking at working not only with the FDA as it relates to PPE, but also looking at other expired equipment. We had a conversation just a moment ago specifically at expired equipment as it relates to old ventilators and the like, and how we can adjust the protocols and policies, not just focus on the rehabilitation, but the utilization of some of those other assets. Let me be specific, though, to the question specific to the issue of PPE. We had 21 million N95 masks in our cache. That most had expired. We worked with the FDA to get approval because of the cold storage and the fact that the equipment, the masks were in very good order to be able to distribute those masks. Let me give you a new number. We have distributed to date 31.7 million N95 masks in the state of California, 31.7 million N95 masks. I have not a purchase order. We have now secured and locked in and are about to be delivered 101 million N95 masks that we've been able to source throughout the globe. It gives you a magnitude of what we need and what we're looking for. Let me extend precision in terms of understanding. We had additional 1.4 million glove sets that we've distributed from the state. I now have additional security that we are going to receive very shortly, an additional 1.5 million glove sets. So I can go to coveralls, I can go to gowns, I can go to shields, but I don't want to belabor the question or my response to it or confuse anybody except to say we're dealing in the multi-millions, hundreds of millions of PPE, and we'll continue to work with our federal partners to find more from the national stockpile. But beyond that, if we don't get much more, and we're expected to get more, we will look to those expirations, we'll look to repurposing, and also look to securing logistics around the world to get what we need. By the way, I just want to again remind people my gratitude to Richard Branson and Virgin. They have a plane that will be flying out here into the Bay Area to Oakland. It's just another proof point, 747, with test kits, with all kinds of other PPE. It's just another example of these partnerships that are forming that are very, very, well, we're very, very humbled and grateful by them.
KPCC asks says they've gotten a lot of questions from LA residents concerned that their employer is still making them work even though they should be closed under state orders, or that they are over 65 and work in an essential service like a grocery store and still have to work, or that their employer isn't taking proper health and safety precautions. Where can they report these problems?
Well, Department of Labor, but just reach out to one great site for overall information, COVID19.ca.gov. COVID19.ca.gov lays out the protocols, procedures, what's essential, what's not essential. But that's our labor folks. Julie Sue, there's the name, the director of the agency. Her responsibility is to enforce from a state perspective those rules and regulations. But counsel as a former county supervisor, the overlay exists as well at the county level and their Office of Labor Standards Enforcement that are manifested very differently in all 58 counties in the state that provide an additional layer of support and enforcement for those kinds of concerns.
Is there any update about the spot testing of random people in Orange County, LA, and Santa Clara that you mentioned last week? What is the status of that surveillance effort, and what are the results?
The results I mentioned in terms of the previous efforts to do what we refer to as community surveillance. And one should know those pilots are taking shape all across the state. Some of our institutions of higher learning, our universities, our medical facilities are doing community surveillance on a smaller level. We intend to do it on a massive level, and we are working with many companies, including the one that's a stone's throw away from where I'm speaking today, to improve our capacity to deliver on that. That capacity is limited, and I'll repeat this for the 20th or 30th time. It is limited on our basis of our capacity to get the RNA extraction kits, to get the reagents, to fulfill the demands for testing, and to get the specimen capacity, which means new swabs and the new media to transport the swabs. We are working, interestingly, another company here in the Valley, to do 3D printing of swabs in order to meet the moment. So our testing is limited on that basis. We're moving towards the blood-based testing, which will ultimately provide new avenues and access for more communities. One of our top priorities. Those were just more questions.
No more questions.
With that, let me once again thank Bloom Energy and KR. Thank Mayor Ricardo. Thanks Susan and her team. Thanks to the volunteers. Thanks to the workers that are assembling life-saving treatment respirators, ventilators here in the state of California. I just want to encourage other companies that have supplies that can meet this moment to do the same. We encourage them to contact us, and I want to thank the 300 manufacturers that already have throughout the state of California. And so with that, we just thank everybody that is working here first and foremost, and thank everybody that's watching for their continued vigilance and for their willingness to continue to meet this moment by practicing physical distancing and maintaining our status in the state of California with our stay-at-home orders. Thank you, everybody.